What's up guys? For those of you that don't already know, my name is Raymond Venuya, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about what's in my camera bag 2020. Let's get it. Alright guys, so I'm going to start off by showing you some of the little things I carry with me. It's not much, so you can get through it pretty quickly. First is just lens cleaning stuff. I mean lens cleaner solution, lens pen, and microfiber cloth. I like to clean everything that I use before I shoot. So if I have a shoot, let's just say tomorrow, then tonight I'd be cleaning everything, just to make sure it's all ready to go. Basic stuff. And then you never know when you're gonna need it when you're out there, just in case. And then extra memory card. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. You never know what's gonna happen, so it's always good to have an extra. Same deal with extra battery. When I bought the EOS RP, I picked up an extra battery just in case, because I wasn't sure what the battery life is like. I am used to having a battery grip for everything, so maybe that's something I can look into eventually, but yeah. And then of course the charger. I really like this charger too for this camera, because even though it is a weird battery, the LPE17 instead of the normal LPE6 that every other Canon camera uses, I like it because it is like a wall charger, and so I don't have another cord with me. I know it's really a little thing, like a minor inconvenience, but it's really nice. That's it. I like that. Okay. Shutter release cable for the 35mm camera that I shoot with right now, which I'll show you guys in a bit. I don't actually use this just because that one has like a digital interface basically. I don't know the proper term for that, but yeah. But if I do shoot with a more traditional 35mm camera, I'd love to do long exposure, so this is obviously a necessity. Same with this Kaiser Film Leader Retriever. There we go. Basically, if I shoot, let's just say I put a roll in there and I have to wind it back into my camera, and then I want to shoot that roll again, either double expose it or I only shot the first frame, so I want to use it in a different camera. Gotta use this guy, but that's why I always carry this with me. It's really small and easy, but definitely the number one thing out of all these little things I love to carry with me is the notebook. Okay, so with the notebook, I've had this guy for about, I'd like to say like 2 years now, and pretty much just all my pre-production goes into here, and if I'm taking notes on something, whether that's location scouting or kind of mood boarding or scouting for new clients whatsoever, I will write it all down in the notebook just because I don't want to lose it. I mean, pretty simple, right? But I always take it with me on a shoot too, because that way I can make notes to myself about things that happen on set or on location. And pretty much it's really small. I know it's not exactly really small, but it's really convenient to have, and I think it's just good to keep a notebook to stay organized. That's like the best way to put that. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about some of the tech that I bring with me. It's not much, just because I do try to, minimize the things that I'm bringing with me so I can travel a little bit lighter. So these are things that I take with me if I'm on vacation, on a paid shoot, and I'm not going straight home afterward. So I need to back it up right away. But yeah, for the most part, I only bring this with me if I'm traveling. That's the main gist of it. But here we go. So laptop, of course. I have an old 2013 MacBook Air. It's nothing too crazy, but it gets the job done. And then external hard drive, I have a Seagate, I think 2 terabyte. So it's not too bad. Just holds all my raw files, holds all my finished edits, everything, pretty much everything I've ever done is on here, which is great. It's not the only place I have it backed up. Of course, you should be triple backing up all your work, your raw files, finished files for both video and photo, anything, pretty much just triple back it up, because I've really seen it all where you don't back things up, it's gone forever, and it's just like, damn, I really wish I had that still. But that's that. And then of course, last but not least, a mouse. I'm just using a Gambia Apollo right now. I'm gonna invest in a wireless mouse. I just don't know which one yet. But pretty much I use this just because editing photos on a trackpad, editing anything, either in Photoshop, Lightroom, or Premiere Pro with a trackpad is really impossible. Alright, so now we can really start talking about the fun stuff, which is the gear that I do carry on a day-to-day basis. So let's start with all my film equipment. And so pretty much it's not too much, it's just 35mm film camera, which is the Canon G2. I really do love this camera. Two things I really love about it. the lens mount, and the light meter. So with the light meter, I feel like as much as I've shot it, I hardly ever miss exposure. If I do, it's definitely not because of the camera, it's more so because of me not exposing properly. But this camera really does a good job, no matter what mode I'm in, of reading the light and just producing a good negative. And that's what I really appreciate about it, just because I have shot with other cameras like the Miranda Sensor X, which is a more traditional SLR, 35mm camera, and I would miss exposure a lot, even though my light meter is telling me that, I was spot on. And so that's something I really do enjoy about this. While it doesn't have the fun of, the traditional film advance crank, loading your film, etc., I still enjoy it a lot. And the lens mount. So with this one, because it does have a Canon EF lens mount, so any of the full frame Canon lenses are still going to work on this one that they do in your digital cameras, and I love that just because it's like I've already invested the money into good glass for my EOS RP. It's like, so I want to use the same glass to shoot film. It just makes sense. It's a lot easier that way, and you get the quality of the lens just on your film stock, and I really appreciate that about this camera. So anybody transitioning into shooting 35mm film from digital, this is definitely a great camera to use. And then of course just have to carry my film. So Japan Camera Hunter 35mm film case holds 5 rolls. It's pretty great. It's one of those things you never knew you needed it until you got it. That's why you just don't have a lot of rolls hanging around. We really like that. And then okay, let's move on to the lenses. Right now I am shooting on the Sigma Art 35mm 1.4 lens. It's a great lens. It's really sharp. It's one of my favorite investments into my camera gear. So far, I love that the 35mm focal length gives you the right balance between compression and the wide angle. So I do get enough of my environment to really use it to tell my story, but at the same time, I'm not just compressing everything too far. So definitely one of my favorite lenses, but I hate to say it, this little guy right here is still my favorite lens. The Nifty 50, the Canon 50mm f1.8. Now given I have shot, the Canon 50mm f1.4, the L series lens, and while that lens definitely has an edge in terms of quality of build and glass, you just can't beat this at its price. And of course, if I could afford, the L series lens, trust me, I would get it over this. But at the moment, this is pretty great. I've been shooting on this lens for about 3 years, and it's never done me wrong. And I appreciate this lens a lot, just because one, it is light and it's compact, and yeah, it gets you can get a lot out of it. I really do appreciate the 50mm focal length. I won't commit to just going to the 85 yet or something, or maybe even a 70. I just haven't really gotten to that point yet where I feel like I need that sort of compression. But yeah, for what I do at least, this lens really works for me and I love it. And of course right now I'm shooting on the Canon EOS RP. So far it's been a pretty great camera. I mean, at the price point that it's at, I love it. I'll talk more about that in a later review video, but yes, and right now of course I'm using a Takstar shotgun microphone. Nothing too crazy. I mean, eventually I probably will get a Rode mic, and who knows, maybe even some other different audio equipment. I'm not too big, yet on audio, just because I haven't really learned all of it yet. But so far, that's my setup. Alright guys, so last but not least, let's talk about the backpack that I actually use to carry all my gear, and that is the Eve Case Hardshell Backpack. Looks like this. I got this off Amazon a couple years ago, and I will say I have enjoyed using it for the past 3 years. So let's just get started. At the top, it does have a compartment where you can put all your clothes in, clothes or whatever, food, if that's your thing. I usually put my clothes in here whenever I travel, and it works out pretty well. I mean, you can store up to maybe 2 days worth of clothes in here, depending on how cold the place is that you're going to. So I enjoy that a lot. And then it does have a sleeve, of course, for a laptop back here. And it's nice, it's padded, it's comfortable. And then, of course, it does have a chest strap across. And I think one of my favorite things about it is it can carry a tripod right here. It has the buckles for it too. I appreciate that, just so that way I don't have a tripod either hanging from the bottom or I have to carry it by hand. But the one thing I'll say is inconvenient about this backpack is the actual shell where your camera goes. So because it's just like this, the zippers are right around here, there is no side pocket to get into the camera, and that's kind of what sucks. You know, just like I don't want to have to always put down my bag, you know, to reach for my stuff, especially if I'm like hiking somewhere or it's not the cleanest place in the world. You know, it sucks having to actually put my bag down on the floor and then, you know, open this thing up like fully just to take out my camera gear. That's the one thing I will say is an inconvenience about this backpack, but I do think it's time for an upgrade just because I have had this backpack for a while. But overall, I do love this bag. You know, it's a good way to travel. But yep, definitely enjoy this one. Alright guys, so that is what is in my camera bag. Thank you for watching. Hopefully next year I'll have more things to show, and I am looking to invest in new gear, you know, a new backpack, maybe another lens so I can hopefully get a 24-70 so I can cut down the lenses that I have to carry, even though it is a pretty minimal setup already. But thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.